if you would have some information about Gautama Buddha, what would you do? You would search for the best, the oldest, the earliest sources about Gautama Buddha and try to understand his religious teaching. If you would like to have information about Muhammad, you would search for the earliest, the best text about Muhammad. If you want information about Napoleon Bonaparte, you would search for the best historical source material about him. It's exactly the same with Jesus. If you want the information about the historical person of Jesus, you go to the best historical material we have, and that is the New Testament text, the four Gospels. Now, within the Christian Church, there is also the perspective that those texts were written, every single word, by human authors who did their research and who put together their material, but that they, in that process, also were guided by God, because God wanted to use their texts in order to communicate to the whole mankind, to the rest of history. It's very important, if you're a Christian, not to put up a tension between the human authors as really free authors who created unique texts, and then at the same time they were, according to Christian belief, supernaturally guided by God in that process. And there are promises, for example, from Jesus, where he talks to his disciples and says, I will give you the Holy Spirit and he will guide you into the whole truth. At the moment you cannot understand everything I have told you and everything that will happen, but the Spirit will guide you. And I share that conviction, that the end result of what the apostles wrote were guided by God. But that does not exclude their own thinking, their own working with the material. It does not exclude a period of 3 decades, for example, of verbal retelling, what then finally were written down in what we know as the Gospels. Okay. The last chance. Yes?
What about translations? You said that the earliest example of the New Testament are from almost 30 years after the actual happening. So what language were they written in then, and how much are New Testaments of today like actually translated from that actual source, or are they just translated from some English version?
Okay, so it's a question about translation. The whole New Testament is written in Greek, in that certain form of Greek language which is called Koine, which differs slightly from classical Greek. We are very fortunate to have today good translations from the original Greek, not translations from other translations. So your different Finnish translations are from the original Greek, and in Sweden we have several translations of the New Testament, which goes back to, or the translators have worked with the Greek, the Greek text, or try to translate that into Swedish. And you can, if you compare, depending on how many languages you know, but if you compare a Swedish translation and a Norwegian translation, an English translation, a German translation, you would see that there is not many big problems here. That the basic message of the New Testament is exactly the same in those different translations. There can be individual verses where you can say, oh, obviously it's possible to have this nuance or that nuance, but the basic message, it's crystal clear, I would say, whatever modern translation you take.